There is yet more breaking news tonight. The man accused of killing a well-known D.C. photographer has been found guilty on all counts. Brandon Hullbrook will be sentenced in July. Investigators say he shot Joe Shamansky in the driveway of his Calvert County home back in 2023. Shamansky's ex-wife was once in a relationship with Hullbrook. Hullbrook now faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
And we have
This dude is terrible. He was my brother, and he's gone. He's gone.
This is a mystery right out of Washington, D.C. Joe Shymanski was a beloved Washington photographer. He disappeared. Then a series of clues helped police piece things together, what happened and what led to the surprising suspect. Joe's sister wondered, why would somebody want Joe Shymanski to disappear from the face of the earth? She wishes she did not have to ask this question. Joe was such a good person and everybody loved him. His brother still had no answers. It is heartbreaking to think that their beloved family member is no longer alive. Ted and Mary Shamansky will never understand why their loving brother Joe is dead. He was an accomplished professional photographer with a childlike quality and a kindness in his art. Many questions remain unanswered. He was gunned down in front of his home by a man he never met. Ted said he believed there was more to this case than the family actually knew. The tight-knit family is broken-hearted and demanding justice for their brother. They want Joe's story to be heard. He was a great brother and a lot of fun to be around. To understand Joe's story, it begins inside the Shymanski family in Michigan, where an unbelievable family bond was formed. Mary, Joe, and Ted were three inseparable siblings who cheered for each other on sports fields and in life. Joe used to joke with them when they grew up, like they were Leave It to Beaver family, because they were always together. They even attended the University of Michigan at the same time before Joe moved to Washington to start his career as a photographer. Everybody liked Joe. He was nice to everybody and he could be friends with anybody. That special quality is why those who loved him struggled to understand his death. Joe was a loving father, uncle, and brother. He was a big part of their lives and his loss was so unfair. It started with a phone call from his ex-wife. She arrived at Joe's house in Huntington, Maryland to drop off their kids and said Joe was not home. She told Ted and Mary that the police were already searching for him. Joe and his ex-wife share custody of their children, and Ted and Mary say that Joe's biggest priority was his kids. It did not make any sense that he would not be there. Ted fell to his knees because he thought Joe would never miss out on picking up his kids. As police began investigating, the family started to lose hope, and police soon learned that this was not a typical missing person report. A neighbor heard gunshots around 4:30 p.m. That information led to the search of Joe's home. Joe was not there. His cell phone, however, was in his car. Then there was a shocking discovery: blood on the driveway. A homicide expert determined that was probably foul play. Reality finally set in. Ted said, "It is terrible because he was my brother and now he's gone." There is a saying that good photographers treat life like a camera. They focus on what's important. Joe's family says his children was his focus. Mary knew something must be wrong because Joe would not miss that. Mary Shamansky looked for any logical explanation why Joe was not home when his ex-wife came to drop off the kids. Joe had told Mary that there had been a poisonous snake in his garage, and Mary imagined that maybe the snake had bitten him. But when the police noticed blood in the driveway, they immediately suspected foul play and launched an investigation to find a killer. Mary said, "We're a Midwestern Catholic family that prioritizes conflict resolutions and love and forgiveness. Suddenly wrapping my head around the fact that my brother Joe might be murdered is too much for me." During an interview with Joe's ex-wife, she told police she had recently dated a man named Brandon Hullbrook and was trying to distance herself from him. Joe had heard his name before from his children. His children called him Uncle Brandon. That name changed everything. Detectives searched motor vehicle records, used new license plate technology, and reviewed doorbell camera footage. They placed Hullbrook's truck at Joe's home shortly after a neighbor reported hearing gunshots. Nearly 200 miles away in Redsville, Pennsylvania, police searched Brandon's home. Court records show they discovered cleaning supplies and plastic gloves. When they searched the bed of his truck, they found critical forensic evidence. Prosecutors say Brandon dismembered Joe's body and almost disposed of it all. Cameras caught Holbrook discarding human remains outside of a store when he bought cleaning supplies. Then, in the woods a few blocks from Holbrook's home, investigators found more human remains. That evidence was enough to arrest Brandon Holbrook for the murder of Joe Shymanski. Joe's family still cannot make sense of it because they believe the two men never met. Mary said, "He's gone. That's the hardest thing because I'll never see him again. Why did Brandon Holbrook think that Joe needed to be shot, killed, and dismembered? I never knew anything about Brandon. It's all a mystery." In their search for answers, Mary and Ted remember Joe recently asking them in a text message to make sure that a recent $1 million insurance policy would go to his children in the event of his death. He said, "You guys are the only two people that I trust with this type of stuff." Mary said there's no good explanation for why this happened. The family does not believe they have heard a reasonable motive. Brandon Holbrook's trial is set to start early next year. Brandon is charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, first-degree assault, use of a firearm in the commission of a violent crime, and altering or destroying physical evidence. He was arrested on September the 6th, 2023, and remains in custody awaiting trial.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.